So I'm just about to head down the mountain to play in this poker tournament, and I thought I would give you my top 5 tips. Now, before I start, of course, these are very basic tips, and generally I'm sure anybody who's looked on the internet for poker has been told these tips before, but as always I will repeat. So number 1, and this tip is the simplest one, but any beginner who's starting poker will, if they've watched like the television coverage of poker, will not get this. But anyway, do not play every hand of poker. What do I mean by that? Only play good hands. Okay? If you've ever watched TV coverage of poker, you might look and see that Daniel Negreanu or Phil Hellmuth plays every hand of poker. They don't. You are watching highlights. Okay? The 3 hands you watched them play are probably taken over 1 hour. The rest of the hands, they throw them away. Seriously, unless you have got a pair in your hand or a high value cards, literally throw the cards away. It's that simple. Then we have number 2. This might sound a bit mean, but one of the things that annoys me is cheat sheets. When I say cheat sheets, I'm not talking about some cryptic thing. I'm talking about the sheet that says a high card is beaten by a pair, which is beaten by 3 of a kind, that's beaten by a straight, that's beaten by a flush, etc., etc. And really, those are meant for absolute beginners. Now, unless the entire table are absolute beginners, then having that sheet there slows down the game. And it requires constant looking at it, gets in the way. Just generally, if you are even, and the tournament we're going to play in, it's a very friendly game. It's nothing, but it's a game of poker. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. So you really have to say, if you do not know that 3 of a kind beats a pair, then you shouldn't really be playing this game. Okay? In the same way that you don't play other games and suddenly when you get on the pitch of playing football go, so which way am I meant to be kicking the ball? Yeah, so fine. If you're learning how to play poker, having a cheat sheet there is fine. If you're playing in even the most basic of tournaments, having a cheat sheet on the table really it slows the game down greatly, because again, people keep on getting it out going and just generally, so I say no, thank you. I'm sorry if that sounds bad, but no. Number 3, if you're playing at a friendly game, okay? Several things you should never take into a friendly game. Sunglasses, a hoodie, or at least, as I will be wearing a hoodie, not a hoodie like that, okay? And no headphones, okay? You're there to play poker. You're not there to have music blaring in your ears, okay? A friendly game of poker involves a little bit of banter between people, and having people hiding behind things as if they're in the World Series of Poker and not a friendly game is just not it. So generally, I say, if there is a game between people, whether it's for a little, just for fun, or a little buy-in, then lose all the stuff, okay? And you know what? In my time in Courchevel, poker has been a really good way of bringing together people of different languages, because there is one language of poker, and instead of having all these separate languages. Yes? So in my time, I have met some French people who I never would have met. I've met some people from other countries which I would have never met had I not been playing poker. And yet everyone knows how to play it, and everybody gets along, everyone has a nice bit of banter. Brilliant. Number 4. If you are playing a game of poker, please, and I know number 3 maybe links into this, but if you are playing a game of poker, please keep an eye on what is happening at the table. The great thing about poker, or a great thing about a good game of poker, is that it's fast moving. It's not fast moving, but it keeps on moving. There is nothing worse than you're sitting at a table and it goes there, huge pause while somebody suddenly goes, oh, sorry, is it me? Oh, yeah, sorry. And of course, if you have somebody who is not paying attention, then of course sometimes, and because other people, so people forget that someone else is actually playing in the game, and it basically messes with the whole game. So if you are playing poker, pay attention. You're there to play poker. You're not there to do anything else. It's pay attention. Hey, you might even win something. So yeah. And finally, number 5. This is slightly a more advanced point, but it's still something that people should know. Learn how to play in position. What do I mean by that? Okay, so say for instance you have 10 people on the table, or 9 people, or however many. You have, with each hand, the dealer position moves from person to person. So with each hand, you could either be the first person to be dealt a card, or you could be the last person to be dealt a card. And of course, being in both of these positions gives you a totally different way of playing the game. If, for instance, you are the first person to be dealt a card and the first to act, if you have a good hand, that's fine. But if you have a middling hand, and of course with poker there is what is called bluffing, so you don't always need the best hand. But in order to make the worst hand seem like the best hand, you have to be able to make it seem like a good hand. So, if you are the first person to be dealt a card, you know that there are 9 people behind you, or in front of you, who are going to act on what you do. So for instance, if you have a middling hand, okay, you could just go check if you're the first person to play, and it'll go round, and someone ahead of you will, of course, bet, because they will have a good hand, or they will sense weakness, and then it will come round to you, and you will probably fold. If, of course, you're trying to bluff, or you have a half-decent hand, of course, when you bet, of course, the people in front of you are going, wow, okay, this guy obviously has something, or not, as the case may be, and it goes around. So your bet is then triggered by 8 other people in front of you who are now using that information that you have just put down. Now, taking it back to the opposite direction, if you are the last person to be dealt a card, then of course you will always be the last person to act. So you will know what all the people on those table are playing, because you'll know if they have strong hands, if they're trying to be strong, or if they're trying to be weak. Okay, so again, you won't always be in the first and last position. You'll be in one of the many middle positions. But again, in all those ones, you have to realize how to play your hand depending on which position you're in. Okay, now that last bit, you could go on for like 20 minutes describing what you do in every position. Yeah, but generally, so yeah, learn how to play in position, right? Now, why don't we play some real hands of poker?